by federal authorities if they did not remove, if they did not attain very low levels of emissions in New Jersey air. Industries have to go to a lot of lengths to not have that occur. So the only point I'm making is that that is being overlooked in a circumstance where you have, on a widespread basis in a neighborhood, a situation where all over the place you have a venting of solvents from the ground into the air without any treatment. And one of the concepts that I did put in my memo would be to do this recovery in a different way, groundwater and vapor, in a manner that would, in a far more efficient way, collect it, control it, and treat it before it goes into the air. So that was the point that Bob had expressed a concern about. I think it's a valid one, and he just asked me to expand on it a bit here.
And are they heavier than the air, these compounds?
Most are, yes.
So that means that they don't go up, that they go down?
Certainly, weather conditions affect that, but as a general trend, they are heavier than air, and they will settle where they're emitted.
Yes, Bill?
I bring your attention to two points on the second page of the chronology here, and ask your expertise with respect to vapor intrusion systems. The date,
I did take a look at it.
The date of January 27, 2006, there's a statement that DuPont wanted to use the DEP's values, which are 10 times higher, meaning more emissions, more vapor intrusion allowable than the EPA screening values. Yet the EPA screening values allegedly are based on a 10 to the -5 risk level, whereas New Jersey is obligated to a 10 to the -6. So you would think New Jersey would be at least an order of magnitude lower. Why is DEP screening values an order of magnitude higher than a lower risk level at EPA? That's number one. And number two, the further down the list, on January 31st, a year later, a full year later, they determined that no labs have detection limits or analytical certified chemistry, in other words, a GCMS, that can do the studies to determine those levels. Is that, in your mind, in January of 2007, is it true that no lab in New Jersey could hit the EPA numbers? There, I mean, these are fact questions, and I will go hammer and tong to the DEP certified lab program on this. And this is now a question of, because that was the excuse why they couldn't do anything.
I recognize your question. I cannot answer that question specifically. What I can say is there are circumstances, not infrequent, where if you are trying to be protective to the 10 to the -6, or there are circumstances where on a day-to-day basis, a laboratory may be unable to resolve a analysis
and the regulatory response is sort of non-detect.
To a standard. So basically, what the standard becomes is the risk number, the desired number, or as close as the lab can resolve. Sometimes that is a policy. I cannot specifically address that issue with regard to the air analysis that you brought up. However, what I will say is you just raised 2 or 3 very good reasons why you should have this CAG.
Right, and the point is here, so the public understands this. Back in 1992, when EPA first got involved in the case was originally dealt with in DEP in 1988 under what's called an administrative consent order. The cleanup was being dealt with through Trenton. And when EPA came in under federal law, because they were obligated to clean up the site under a federal law called RCRA, DuPont objected. They said, no, we want to work with DEP. We're having a great time. We're doing a great job with the DEP. And DEP is doing just wonderful work. And they really objected to EPA getting involved. And here's another illustration of a very concrete health effect issue that you've been suffering for 6 years, 7 years, that you would have been better off under EPA control, and you would also have been better off had there been a public hearing where somebody like me, not a community advisory group, which is just limited to laymen in the community, but experts from, in other words, when something is public notice, I get a heads up, and I could like sit 60 miles away and email, hey, what the heck is going on here? You see what I mean? Whereas if they bury it, it gets buried. So there's validity in having what are called formal public hearings, such that, like we had on the permit by rule thing, where the public can show up, everybody knows what's going on, experts from throughout the country can participate that have expertise. You see what I mean? These are all issues that need to be ventilated
And Bill, one of the things is, I agree with you. You know, with this is having a CAG, a functional CAG that represents the community, doesn't circumvent having the formal public hearings.
Oh, no, I'm not suggesting that.
Absolutely, absolutely, because education and being informed about technical issues so that you understand them. Because it is science, but when it's explained, it's not that difficult. It's just when they put it in very technical terms, it's very difficult to understand what a standard means. Like, what does 10 minus 5 mean? What's 10 minus 6? Well, we live and die by the numbers. And when they say like 10 to the minus 5, that means that it's acceptable for 1 in 100,000 people to get cancer. Well, what is 10 to the minus 6? Well, that's another number. That means it's acceptable for 1 in a million people to get cancer. And that doesn't mean anything to us. We don't want to be the one, whether it's 100,000 people, whether it's a million people. But the regulators and DuPont know how to massage these numbers. So they know that they can leave levels. If they can leave orders of magnitude behind, because they can show that, well, it only gives 1 out of 100,000 people cancer, not 1 out of a million. And that's why you need a technical side. That's why you need to understand what these numbers mean when they're saying safe for you. Well, it's safe for who? It's safe for DuPont to leave vapors behind. It's not safe for the community. And until they do ambient air quality measurements in the air, in the community, which they can do, EPA's got something called the Tagabus. It was made to come to the community and take real volatile organic airtime readings in the community. They can come in your house, they have tubes, they can take ambient air quality readings real time. And we've been asking for that in Pompton Lakes for years now. And EPA said no. But we want to know why we can't have the Tagabus come here so that we can get real-time ambient air quality readings and answer that question once and for all. How bad is the ambient air here? Is the systems making the ambient air worse? Is it presenting a health risk to the community and to the families of Pompton Lakes? And those are fundamental questions that we shouldn't have to be asking. That if this site truly has the same footing as a Superfund site, if they give us this community the same rights as a community with Superfunds, as was a Superfund, then they should be able to bring that Tagabus up here. They have it at Region 2 in Edison. Not all the time, but they do bring it into Region 2. It can come up here. It's built to do volatile organic readings in communities with vapor problems. Okay, with that, I know that there's a couple of people that had questions from the CAG. Sir, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah. My question is, of the air that's being exhausted from the individual homes, at the end of that day, there are no scrubbers in there for purifying. I don't know. Now, once more, the firm that installs the exhaust system in the individual homes, none of them, to my knowledge, has a scrubber in there at the exhaust, or something that cleans the air. Do talk about the environmental. I can inhale it afterwards, and where do I go then? What happens? So a cleaning device that has to be at the very end of the exhaust should definitely be installed.
That's what we're saying. And that's what we're saying is that the cumulative effect of 450 sources of volatile organic chemicals adding to the possible ambient problem. But we don't know, because an EPA can answer that question. They have a vehicle, they have a bus that actually could come up here. And if you want to talk to EPA, they're in the back of the room. Maybe after we break it, we're going to break at 8:30. So after that, we can talk. And if EPA can hang around for a few minutes, that's something maybe we can discuss.